Thank you, Arnon, and thank you to all of you for having me here today. My name is Travis Pace. I am the president of Tierra Majors, LLC, which I will tell you about in just a minute, but I'm also your MC, Master of Ceremonies for the day. So fortunately, I have the pleasure of introducing each and every speaker today and participating in the question and answer session afterwards, but unfortunately, it's my job to lay a couple of rules down, so if you'll excuse me. If you wouldn't mind, please turn off your cell phones so that we don't have any distractions for our speakers. We have a tight schedule today, so if you wouldn't mind holding your questions after each presentation until the end. We'll have a special session up here with all the speakers, and so if you have a question and something occurs to you during someone's presentation, then please write it down, write the person's name down, and then ask it at the end. Okay, and I would also like to apologize to Mr. Tal Kuttner, not Mr. Tal Rupin. I guess I was a little nervous and I mixed up the last name with the name of the university. So thank you for your patience. Okay, well, I will start with my presentation. As you can see, this is Tierra Majors, my company. Just a little bit about who we are. Formed in 2008 by an energy entrepreneur, myself. Based in Texas, we have operations around the world. We have an office, a regional office in Guatemala to handle our Latin American operations. We hope to open one here in Israel soon to handle some of the developing business we have here and in the region. We really have two buckets of services that we provide. The first and probably the most important of which is energy training. We have a global network of world-class instructors located all around the world who deliver 1 to 5 day courses in technical, commercial, legal, and financial topics relative to the oil and gas and energy industries. These are delivered in-house or via distance learning. Some examples of the courses that we can deliver are offshore natural gas engineering, natural gas project risk management, advanced natural gas economics, etc. So for us, it's a very exciting opportunity to be here with you today to discuss this very important topic of workforce skills training in the Israeli marketplace. We've been here working and talking with people since about 2012, and we hope to continue. I'm sure that we'll be here long into the future, and we hope to continue to visit with all of you about how to move this forward. We also have a consulting arm in which we provide commercial advisory, strategic market analysis, market entry, economic modeling, project evaluation, and development type services. And via an affiliation with a Houston-based company called the Galway Group, we provide energy advisory, investment banking, and capital raising services. So Galway has also been involved in the Israeli marketplace since about 2012. And we have a strategic alliance with them that helps us expand our services offering. So that's Tierra Majors. That's who we are. That's what we do. Today, I want to talk to you about what are the oil and gas professions. What are the professions associated in large oil and gas companies? What's available? What is each job description? What does each unique professional do? And how do these all relate together? So this presentation is a product of my own experience in the international oil and gas sector, and so my experience is of course different from a lot of other people's experience. So if I use a term that's not familiar to you, or if you call it something else, or if I have a description that's not quite what you're familiar with, and I do apologize if I step on any toes. I certainly don't mean to. So first, I want to start with a division of most major oil and gas companies. The sector is really broken down into 3 major subsectors: upstream, midstream, and downstream. The upstream contains exploration and production, what we call E&P. The exploration side consists of petroleum geology and geophysics, which we call G&G. And that's mostly identified with prospect identification, scientists go out and they find out where they think oil and gas, hydrocarbons are. Next comes commercial. The commercial aspect of exploration. Commercial professionals are responsible for, once they've been identified, once a prospect has been identified, the commercial professionals are tasked with going out and securing the rights to drill. Then there's the P side of E&P, which is production. This a major aspect of this is petroleum engineering, well design, and drilling. Moving to midstream, marketing is production sales. So that's after you get the hydrocarbons out of the ground, how do you get it to market? And transportation, how do you move it to market? There's many different ways to move hydrocarbons around, and some of the speakers today are going to talk to you about these specific ways to do that. Finally, the downstream, which mostly has to do with refining, processing, and end uses of hydrocarbons produced. We're going to go over each one of these one by one. So we'll start with the upstream, the E&P side. Exploration geology, as many of you probably know, geology is it's a natural science that studies the earth to determine where hydrocarbons might exist. There's a good rule of thumb that we use in Houston some about how to find hydrocarbons. There's two ways to do so. Number one is with a old technology in a new place, which could be argued is what happened here in Israel. And number two is a new technology in an old place, which could be said is what's occurring in the Permian Basin today, which is a region in West Texas that's been prolific oil and gas production for many decades. And it was on a downward slope, a decline, and then all of a sudden new technology, what we call horizontal drilling and fracking, has really spiked the production levels back up, and Texas is back in the number one slot for oil production in the United States because of that. Next is exploration geophysics, sometimes just called simply seismic, which essentially uses seismic reflection technology to map the subsurface underneath the ground where the reservoirs are in search of hydrocarbons. Then I mentioned briefly the commercial aspects. Commercial professionals negotiate for and acquire the rights to drill in areas that are identified by their G&G counterparts. They also are responsible for negotiating and maintaining relationships with partners and governments. In the United States, we sometimes call these professionals landmen. In other parts of the world, especially internationally, they're sometimes called commercial negotiators, international negotiators, joint venture representatives, any of these things. But they're basically relationship maintainers and negotiators. That's their primary role. Further, moving into the petrotechnical side, we have reservoir engineers who are tasked with reserve evaluation, reserve booking, asset development planning. These professionals are generally experienced in hydrocarbon economic matters as well as in technical engineering matters. So they put together the IRR profiles for each well before it is drilled, and they send it to management and say, this is why we should drill this well instead of this well. Then there's the drilling engineers who are responsible for designing and executing the actual well itself. They use technical data to determine appropriate equipment types, rig types, drill bit types, pressure systems, and fluid levels, as well as temperature and heat estimations. Completion engineers is a very important section today, especially in horizontal shale and offshore drilling. They essentially design the completion, which is in some cases referred to as the frac or the acid job, depending on where you are and what you're doing. The completion of the well, which is the process that releases the hydrocarbons from the source rock into the wellbore that's been drilled. So completion engineer is very crucial. Production engineers maintain the well post-drill. So after it's been drilled, after it's been brought online, there's generally an objective set for each well, and that could be long life, long production life, or it could be a quick payback. A lot of independent, privately owned companies, they just want to, it's very expensive to drill wells, so they want to get their money back out as quick as possible. So you can have different ways to manage your well after it's been drilled, manage the production of it, and this is has to do with reservoir pressures, wellbore pressures, production levels, and this is what the production engineer does. The last step that's included sometimes in the upstream is natural gas treatment, because natural gas is generally treated in the upstream before it's moved down into the midstream and downstreams. This is to remove the different hydrocarbons that generally come out of what you would call a gas well, such as NGLs and condensates and other things. You got to separate everything, and then you can move it down for further processing. Moving into the midstream, we have marketing and transportation professionals. Crude and natural gas marketers in oil and gas companies, are responsible for finding buyers for the production. They can also plan logistics, such as pipeline and shipping routes. Then we have pipeline engineers who are responsible for designing, building, and maintaining the pipeline systems to move products around. Sometimes this is handled by an outside vendor or a third party instead of the company itself. And finally, in marketing and transportation, we have commodity traders. So not all companies have these, but a lot do. Some of the larger ones do. A trading floor which trades hydrocarbon commodities on futures and spot markets. These are generally finance professionals, although they can come from other backgrounds such as engineering and commercial backgrounds. They have a profession that's similar to Wall Street trading floors. In the downstream, we have refining, treating, and retailing of hydrocarbons. So once everything has been pulled up out of the ground, been moved through pipelines, ships, trucks, and all the various midstream components, they move to the downstream, including refineries, which convert raw hydrocarbons into finished products, such as gasoline, propane, also known as LPG, kerosene, jet fuel, etc., and natural gas treatment facilities. These convert raw natural gas into cleaner finished products. Some examples of natural gas treatment facilities are LNG, CNG, gas to liquids, all these different ways of taking a raw product and turning it into something value added. Finally, we have retail in the downstream, gasoline stations, propane tanks, residential and commercial customers, etc. There's a couple of professions that are needed in every segment, and perhaps you've been wondering when I was going to get to these, but these are prevalent in every aspect, so I included them at the end. Lawyers are critical in every step of the value chain to protect assets, structure joint ventures, litigate when necessary, as well as other contractual matters. Finance professionals are necessary. Oil and gas is a very capital-intensive industry, and so you need very well-educated, very skilled financial professionals to manage the capital requirements required for the development of this industry. Accounting professionals, oil and gas bookkeeping is somewhat unique, and so it requires a unique skill set to maintain the reporting and development of balance sheets and income statements, things like that. And perhaps one of the most important is a project manager. They're becoming more and more important as the industry develops around the world. We have mega projects that are increasingly complex, such as the Prelude, Keystone Pipeline, and the Leviathan project right here. These require very, very large orchestration and management of lots of different moving parts, and so project management has become a very crucial aspect of the oil and gas industry. HR professionals are also among the most important in this industry, and that's because even with all these multi-billion-dollar projects that you hear about, at the end of the day, the oil and gas company's best asset is the one that walks out the door every night. And so you need HR professionals to handle the needs. Of course, it's very competitive because if you have a professional who's attractive to one company, he or she is going to be attractive to another company, and so it's competitive, and they have to make sure that they've got the best people that they have on the team. Environmental professionals, which consist of engineers, lawyers, consultants. The industry has come a long way, due in large part to the efforts of these workers, as far as reputation-wise. Government relations, every company has them. They're critical to handling public and private relationships. And CSR, corporate social responsibility. Oil and gas is a global industry, and we need to ensure that we are welcome guests to all our hosts around the world. So some conclusions. There's lots of options for challenging and rewarding work in this industry. Energy will continue to be at the forefront of global priorities. I don't think the jobs are going anywhere. You have the best co-workers in the world, in my opinion. Oil and gas people are the best people to work with. That's a personal opinion, but I hope that if you join the industry, you'll agree with me. We're a lot of fun to work with. There's never-ending opportunities to learn. As this industry ties in with the comment on the last slide that this is it's a global priority. Energy is important for everyone, And so as we grow and as we improve our technology, improve our understanding, there are never-ending opportunities to learn something new. And so you'll never get bored. You'll always be interested. You'll always be challenged. But the very best part is that it takes all kinds. And I'm sorry, this is an old version of my presentation. There's a picture I had of a lot of different animals to kind of give you an idea that it takes a little bit of each personality to make this sector go around. So if you can just imagine, as it says here, a funny pic with a lot of variety in it. So that's all I have, and